So picture this. It's the 2020 Broadway Bomb, my second race ever. And I'm starting at the bottom of the hill next to these three guys I don't know. Titus, Jason, and Kiefer. One of them asks me to check his GoPro to see if it was on, and that was Titus. Fast forward, the same dude ends up winning the whole race. So later I hit him up to ask him about his setup, and we actually became friends. I found out he was on these giant Meepo wheels and this super low board called the Subsonic Century. Now fast forward 8-ish months and I've just graduated college. I'm coming off several injuries, I'm out of shape, and I'm trying to figure out post-grad life. I see a race is coming up in Prospect Park, and it's a short one, so it should be lighter than Broadway Bomb. So I buy this double drop freeride board, throw on my old 85mm wheels, and complete the race.
No way, don't say that.
My lungs were fried. My legs were burning. Everything hurt. But God, did I feel alive. And it awakened something in me.
I'm done with school. I gotta push like a now. Bro, I gotta get my sprints back up for Jason. I gotta get like y'all are different.
That I hadn't felt in a very long time. It made me hungry. And it was at this point that I fell in love with distance skateboarding. As I progressed, I started looking into a new board. And unfortunately, Subsonic had closed up shop, so I was out of luck if I wanted something similar. Then about a year and change later, I'm randomly scrolling on Reddit one day and I just see this post from Jeff from Pantheon, and it's a prototype of a new board he was working on, and it strongly resembled the Subsonic Century. A couple weeks later, and the prototypes are finished, and the board is officially called the Pantheon Supersonic, which pays homage to Subsonic. Now, a couple months later, the Pantheon Supersonic wins first, second, and third at the 2022 Broadway Bomb. A couple months go by and I'm finally able to buy my own, and man was I excited. I ordered it shortly before the Broad Street Bomb in Philly, but due to shipping, it unfortunately didn't come until the night before, so I didn't have time to set it up and test it out before the race, so I didn't use it that race. I unboxed it a couple days later and set it up, and it felt like a dream. Also, that unboxing video is still my most viewed video on my channel, but hopefully this video will beat it. Now, let's get into some tech specs of the board. The length of the board is 36.5 inches. The width is 9.2 inches at its widest and 9 inches at its narrowest. The wheelbases are 30.09 inches at its longer wheelbase and 25.24 inches at its shorter wheelbase. The longer wheelbase is the D-wedged wheelbase and the shorter one is the zeroed out one. So regarding the weights, for the bamboos, the light is about 3 pounds and 11 ounces, the medium is about 3 pounds and 14 ounces, and the heavy is about 4 pounds and 5 ounces. The depth of the drop of the board is about 2.06 inches. And it has a very mellow concave throughout the board, so you're going to be comfortable no matter how far you're riding. It has several different flex options. There are essentially 6. If you go with the maple construction, there's the 6-ply, which is for lighter weight riders. There's the 7-ply, which is for, medium weight riders like myself. And then there's the 8-ply, which is for the heavier riders. Now, if you go to the bamboo, there's the light flex, which is slightly less flexy than the 6-ply. It's like a 6.5 ply. There's the medium flex, which is about even with the 7-ply. And then there's a hard flex, which is a little bit softer than the 8-ply. So it's about a 7.5 or 7.5. The construction is a sandwich of fiberglass, then maple, then bamboo, then a cross ply of maple going the other direction, then bamboo, maple, fiberglass, and veneer on the bottom. The cross ply in the middle helps prevent the board splitting completely if it gets dinged by a curb or something. It just makes it so that all the pliers aren't going the same way, because that's a very easy way to break something you're making out of wood, is putting all the pliers in the same direction. So regarding durability, my board handled hundreds and hundreds of miles, and even being drenched before it finally broke. It lasted me a little over a year, and honestly, I got my money's worth out of that board. Like, I really put time into that board. I put over 150 miles in it at Ultra Skate, and honestly, it served me well, and I'm fully happy with it. Hopefully my new bamboo deck lasts me a little longer, but we'll see. Skateboards break after all. That's just the way of life. That's just the way of the sport. Happens. Can't really be helped. Not everything's indestructible, especially not wood. Now, if you notice, in the front and the back, they're kind of slanted, and this is called wedging. Sometimes you'll see people do it with risers, but on the Pantheon Supersonic, it's built in. So on the front, it's a positive wedge of 13 degrees, and on the back, there's a negative D wedge of about negative 17 degrees. Also on the back, there is a really steep wedge, which if you flip a 40-ish degree base plate or a 43 degree, like a bare 40 degree or a Paris 43 degree like I have, it evens out to around 0 degrees. Now the kicktails, there are none. There are no kicktails on this board. And for the grip tape, the original stock Pantheon grip tape on the Maple, I wasn't that much of a fan of. It was kind of thin, and it was around the time I was looking into more coarse grip for pushing, so I swapped it out after a couple months. My bamboo, however, did come with 60 grit grip tape, which is a little bit stronger and a little bit grippier, but I got used to the grip tape that I've been using for the last year, so I just swapped it out the first day. The graphic is the constellation Sagittarius. Obviously Pantheon is known to like a pantheon of gods and mythology, and so a lot of their boards and graphics have something to do with mythology. Sagittarius, it's a centaur. It's also my star sign, so I kind of like the board. It's a centaur with a bow and arrow. It's cool. How does it ride? Smooth as hell. So smooth. It's so fun, comfortable, and fast to ride. It pushes really well. The built-in drops acts as like foot stops, so you can really dig into the board and leverage yourself when you're putting some power into your pushes, whether you're pushing with your back foot or in Mongo with your front foot. How does it pump? It pumps very consistently. The wedging and de-wedging really help with that. If you set it up with the 0, that can also pump really well, depending on your truck setup. I'm not the best pumper, but I can pump, and this board is very easy to pump on. How does it handle uphills? It eats them up. It absolutely destroys uphills. It's a monster pushing uphill. The flex helps also. How does it handle downhills? You'd think with the flex that it's not that great downhill. Now, would I enter a downhill race on this or do a giant 60-mile-an-hour raw run on this? Probably not. You'd probably be better off with a stiffer built-in wedge board like the Evo. This isn't for that. This isn't a downhill board. This is a push board, thus you need the flex. But, you know, occasionally you're pushing for miles and miles, you encounter a hill. You push up that hill and now you gotta go down it. And this board can handle a decent amount of downhill. I've gone about 30 miles an hour on this board. I think it's probably the fastest. It could probably handle 40. I don't know about 50, don't quote me on that. But it can handle a decent amount of hills, and you'd be surprised that the flex doesn't really take much away from that. To clarify, I'm not telling you go 90 miles an hour on this board. I would not do that. Also, I'm not saying this board slides well. I haven't tried it, but I've been told it's kind of inconsistent with sliding, and I wouldn't recommend it personally. But if you're pushing and you're going up and down hills, you'll probably be okay going like 25, 30 down a hill. What size wheels can you fit? So if you set it up stock standard with 0 risers, you can go anywhere from like an 80mm wheel to a 95 with no riser whatsoever. However, if you get their wedge and de-wedge risers on the website, you can fit the 102mm Hoku wheels on it. That does not necessarily mean you can fit all 100mm wheels with no other risers. That's just the Hokus because of the shape of the wheel and how offset they are. But if you add a 1/2-inch riser, like I do, you can set the board up from anywhere from 80mm all the way to 110, probably also 111. And that's kind of how I have my board set up. I have it with a 1/2-inch riser, and I usually run from anywhere from 90 to 100 in a race. I'll usually train on 110s. I swap my wheels out a lot, so you know. Now on the website, the completes offer, I believe, 150 millimeter Paris trucks that are 43 degrees or 50, and 130 millimeter bear trucks that are 40 degrees or 50. You can choose to set it up how you want, and it also comes with 92 millimeter Karma wheels and 102 millimeter Hoku wheels. But as I said, you need the wedged risers for the Hokus, so make sure you click that button when you get the Hokus. Now moving on to my setup, I have the medium flex Bamboo Supersonic with 60 grit seismic locked on grip tape. I fell in love with locked on grip tape last year, and I just put it on all my push boards, so that's how I like to grip my boards. I have a 1/2-inch riser, which allows me to fit any wheel size I want. I swap wheels a lot, and I run 150 millimeter 43 degree Paris trucks front and back, and I use the longer wheelbase. I do not zero the rear out. And regarding wheels, I usually use anywhere from a 90 millimeter to a 100 millimeter wheel. Depends on how I'm feeling, depends on what rates I'm doing, what I want to ride, or just where I'm going. But oftentimes I'll be training on 110 millimeter wheels. But as I said before, and you've probably seen on this channel, I swap my wheels a lot, so I'm cycling between different wheels depending on my mood. And that's enough for the tech specs. Since setting this board up, I've put countless miles on it. I've competed in street races like the Broadway Bomb. I've done big group rides like Social Push, New York. I've done endless solo treks. I even skated the entire perimeter of Manhattan once. I pushed for 175 miles at Ultra Skate, and even skated 40 miles with thousands of cyclists throughout all 5 boroughs in the pouring rain during the 5-borough bike tour. I've put blood, sweat, and tears into this board, and it served me well all the way till the end. So unfortunately, when I was racing in Philly, the tail snapped and I DQ'd. But a big shout out to Jeff Vine from Pantheon for sending me a replacement. You didn't have to do that, but I really appreciate it, so thank you. And also thank you for sending me the specs to the board. It was really helpful in making this video. So now I'm skating the Bamboo Medium Flex, and it's been a great time. It's slightly different, but it's an awesome board nonetheless. I can't wait to take this board out on many more adventures, like this year's Broadway Bomb, Miami Ultra Skate, maybe even the Chief Liga Silver Comet Challenge, maybe perhaps the UK Ultra Skate, we'll see. But, and I say this all the time, a lot can happen in a year, so I don't know what 2025 has in store for me yet. In conclusion, the Pantheon Supersonic is the perfect distance skateboard for me. It allows me to do what I love. It allows me to skate, allows me to skate far, allows me to skate fast, and it's just so much fun to ride. Maybe someday in the future a better board will come along, but until that day, this right here is my race board. Thank you for watching. It's been your boy Limpole. Deuces. Boom.
And I really got no niche. Roll with me on a Sunday. Between hazy, I would just lay on sheets, turn with me